Hello, love. Today's vision is about keeping your space sacred. You deserve to hear this. This vision was created with you in mind. And by the end of this vision, you'll feel more grounded in your worth, clear in your boundaries, and comforted by the quiet strength of your own growth. Now, get comfortable, get a glass of your favorite drink, sit down, and let your mind be still. I want you to hear each word, each breath, and each pause. And let these words rest where you need them most. You don't owe everyone access to the new you. Let that settle in your spirit. Not everyone gets to come with you. Not everyone gets a front row seat to your healing. And not everyone deserves a backstage pass to your growth. Sometimes people only know how to love the version of you who overexplained, overfunctioned, and oversacrificed. The version of you who never said no, never had boundaries, and never wanted to make waves. But that version, well, she's evolving, she's tired, and she's healing. And now you're becoming someone who values peace over performance, who no longer begs for breadcrumbs of respect, who doesn't hand out emotional access like it's on clearance. That is sacred. That is holy. And it will confuse people, especially the ones who benefited from your silence. You see, love, when you start honoring your healing, you disrupt the dynamics that kept you small. Suddenly, you're no longer tolerating what you used to. You're no longer jumping to respond. You're no longer reshaping yourself to avoid conflict or criticism. And people will notice. Some will say, "You've changed." Others might say, "You're distant, cold, too much, too quiet, too full of yourself." Let them say what they need to say. You're not responsible for managing other people's feelings about your growth. You're responsible for honoring your soul. And sometimes, the most radical act of self-love is limiting access. Not to be mean, not to punish, but to preserve the energy it takes to sustain the new version of you. Because here's the thing about healing. It's expensive. Not in money, but in energy, intention, and boundaries. You see, you can't afford to be available to everything anymore, and you shouldn't be. I want you to think of yourself like a home under renovation. The doors aren't wide open right now, not because you don't love people, but because you're building something sacred inside. You're rewiring beliefs, repainting boundaries, reconstructing your self-worth from the ground up. And during that process, you don't need people walking in the muddy shoes, bringing loud opinions. Your healing is holy. You need to protect it. Give access to those who respect the work you're doing, not the ones who only want to benefit from your burnout. Because here's the truth. Some people love the unhealed version of you because, well, she was easier to control. She didn't say no. She didn't take up space. She didn't disrupt dysfunctional patterns. But the healed you, well, she's harder to manipulate. She pauses before reacting. She chooses herself when it makes others uncomfortable. That's powerful. That's liberation. Now, here's something no one tells you at the start of your healing journey. Protecting your peace will offend people who were comfortable with your chaos. They won't say it directly, but you'll feel it in the silence, in the way they stop checking in the shift in tone, in the backhanded compliments, or the distance they create when you no longer abandon yourself to make them feel good. But love, that's not your burden to carry. You didn't go through all that growth just to remain palatable. The healed you has standards. The healed you has needs. The healed you has limits. And not everyone has earned the right to meet this version of you. That doesn't make you guarded. That makes you wise. You see, we live in a world that glorifies constant availability, always answering, always explaining, always justifying your no. But what if your new season is about less access and more alignment? What if your growth is calling for quieter rooms, deeper friendships, and fewer voices in your head? You don't have to announce every boundary you set. You don't have to explain your healing. You don't have to shrink your truth just to be digestible. Because the people meant to walk with you now will recognize you by your peace. They won't be threatened by your confidence. They won't punish your distance. They'll honor your evolution, even if it changes the relationship. And the people who don't, let them. Let them misunderstand you. Let them sit with their assumptions. Let them remember the old you as a memory because the new you has places to be. Sometimes healing is loud, full of declarations, tears, and breakthroughs, but often it's quiet, soft, and firm. It looks like not texting back right away, not being available on demand, not explaining your absence. It looks like being at peace with the fact that some connections were only meant for the version of you that no longer exists. And that's okay. So here's your gentle reminder, love. You are not a public park. You are a private garden. And not everyone gets a key. Let your soul rest in that knowing. Let it remind you that you are allowed to preserve your energy, your softness, and your spirit. And when guilt creeps in, because it will, when you feel the tug to over-explain or overextend, I ask you to just breathe. You are not who you used to be, and you don't owe anyone an apology for becoming who you were always meant to be. This vision was brought to you by Kizzy. If these words found your heart, like this video, share it with someone who's learning to protect their peace. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to grow. And you're allowed to do it without asking for permission.